What's happening, people? And once again, welcome back to youtube.com/CubCamTV for this, another edition of Cub Talks Ball. Very excited to get into this one today, following on from obviously the FA Cup being the spectacle that it always is, and more than anything else, allowing the kind of magic to actually happen, allowing teams from the lower leagues to actually get that sort of, I suppose, to get the limelight, to have the shine put onto them, and giving them opportunities to play the bigger teams and really actually test just how good they are. Sometimes they get absolutely run through, but sometimes they do give us a bit of magic, and that's what we've sort of witnessed over the last two legs of this game. Well, it's a replay with the original game, but the fourth round game between Sheffield United and Wrexham, the game did finish 3-1, but I do want to kind of talk through a few bits. Obviously, we can see it on the screen there. That's been posted by the Wrexham Twitter account. I did watch the game, and there's a few things I do want to discuss about this, obviously, regarding Wrexham's current position, with sort of obviously being taken over, having the publicity around them at the moment, but also next to that, combining with what's going on with Manchester City. Could that be something that goes and hits Wrexham down the line? I don't know, but it's a few things to discuss. I want to talk about the game first of all. It was a very interesting game of football. More than anything else, I think it's clear to see what having the additional publicity, the additional kind of funding, but also having that additional sort of drive with certain players coming in can do to a team in the lower leagues of English football. I thought genuinely that Wrexham were very, very good. They were compact, they were defensively solid, they weren't panicking. It just looked like they were there to play ball. It didn't ever look like they were sort of under too much pressure. Well, there were points they looked under pressure, but they never looked like they were panicking. And from the perspective of a championship team playing a team that are, I don't know how many places away, but a lot of league places away, I actually think Wrexham did a really good job of showcasing themselves, showcasing what the club is all about, showcasing the progression that they have been going through. Again, following on from this takeover that they've seen, obviously big celebrity names coming in, yada, yada, yada. We know what that all means, but I think it's really interesting. The few things I do want to talk about, I think there's a few bits that did come across very unusual. I think the lack of VAR in this game probably made it a better contest, but I do think there were a couple of scenarios that were bizarre. I definitely think that Sheffield United should have had a penalty a bit earlier on. I think both of the penalties that were given for Wrexham were clear penalties, and I'm going to talk about Mullen in a bit because I think that guy is a special football player. I really, really do. I think he's got a lot about him, and I love what he's doing. But yeah, there's a challenge in the first half on the halfway line. The first half's 0-0, by the way. Nothing really happens in the first half. A few sort of near misses and a few shots here and there, but overall it was just a very solid defensive display from Wrexham with a lot of attack coming from the from Sheffield. But next to that, I thought that they defended resolutely. They never panicked. Again, tried to play out from the back whenever they could, which is a great sign, I think, moving forward for the club, because it shows that they are ready to progress through the leagues of English football. And it shows more than anything else how far football in England has come when you've got a team in the lower leagues playing a team that, bear in mind, were a Premier League team a couple of years ago. There were Premier League players in that Sheffield United starting team, at least players that have played in the Premier League in that team, not too long ago either. So I think when you actually look at how calm Wrexham were on the ball, I think it was a very, very impressive display. And obviously their managers had some fantastic feats over the years in this competition. So I think it goes to show what good management and the acquisition of certain talent can do. I won't lie, there's a couple of the Wrexham players I really like the look of. I really like the look of Mendy on the left wing. I think he offers quite a lot going forward. I think he offers that kind of bravery you need as a winger, especially in these sort of knockout games where it is about when someone has a moment or not. And it looked like he was going to have a moment at one point. He wasn't scared of taking people on. He was bombing down the wing a lot. Some good deliveries as well. Definitely a player to keep an eye on as Wrexham grow as a club. Whether he stays there or moves up a few leagues, I don't know. But we need to talk about this man. Mullen. Wow. I think this was a genuinely spectacular display. This guy has been on absolute fire. 9 goals in 7 in the FA Cup. Obviously, Wrexham are now eliminated. I don't necessarily know if another player will overtake that this season. He could well finish the FA Cup as the top scorer with 9, which is that's a lot of goals in a cup competition. And obviously, they've been playing it for longer. They've been playing through numerous different rounds to begin with. And a lot of teams don't even enter until the third round. But I think to say you've scored 9 goals in those games is absolutely outstanding. And I think you've got to take your hat off to Mullen. First of all, he wins the penalty. He wins the second penalty as well, purely through good movement. And I think it's such an exciting thing to see a player come up into these games. Obviously, he went down a league to play for a team that weren't necessarily at the same level that he was. But I love the fact that he's been such a good ambassador for the club. He's showing that it's about trying. It's about the determination that comes with that that forward role. The fact that he injured himself literally chasing a man back when he'd lost his man, that says so much about a striker for me. And the fact he tried to stay on and still continue playing, I think was so exciting to watch. I thought his movement was outstanding. I thought the first penalty was an absolute whomper. Like, wow, like how do you have the, I suppose, the poise to pull off a penalty like that, where you're literally drilling it as hard as you can down the middle when your team are 1-0 down in an FA Cup game. Really, really good. It was a shame about the second penalty, but there's no denying that it was a very, very good save from the Sheffield keeper. I thought he did a great job. And obviously the first goal from Sheffield was really good as well. Really nicely worked, sort of three-pass manoeuvre. They slow the play down, they then interchange a little bit more, and you can sort of see the difference in general footballing IQ between the two levels. That was one of the only moments it really showed. I think actually for all three goals was when it showed. But apart from the goals, I think genuinely Wrexham defended really, really well, and I thought they had their head screwed on. Obviously, towards the end of the game, after the second penalty's been missed, you do kind of feel, okay, this is going to either go to extra time or go to Sheffield, who do bag 2 goals in the extra time period. The additional time period, not extra time, I don't know what I'm talking about, the stoppage time period. And I think it's interesting knowing that both of those actually came from kind of breakaway counterattacks, despite the fact that Sheffield United are obviously the team you're expecting to not be the team you're expecting to have the ball. So it shows just how important a counterattack can be, even if you are the bigger team. But I do think Sheffield, obviously, they do have a big difference in quality of players, and I thought Sheffield did their job. They held out, they were professional. Really like the look of Sander Berge in the middle as well. I think he looks like a very, very techie player. Whether Sheffield come up or not, I don't know, but I definitely think there'll be a few clubs kind of poking around. I know he was linked to a move with a few different Premier League clubs a few years ago. Definitely think he's a player that should be in the Premier League. I think he was by far their best player. I thought he was by far their most kind of dynamic player. I thought he brought a lot to the table. Obviously, his height in the middle brings a lot, and the fact he's very techie with his feet makes him quite a interesting player. But again, I just wanted to put a bit of respect on Wrexham's name as a football club. Obviously, when you see a team going through this level of popularity, this level of growth, they've had a documentary about them, which is obviously a bit funny. It's a little bit tongue-in-cheek in times, but they are genuinely developing quite an interesting project down there. I think the acquisition of Mullin was absolutely fantastic. Of course, the acquisition of the manager as well has been really interesting to watch, getting them playing the type of football that they are. They had some really good intertwining manoeuvres, and I do think Wrexham are going to be a genuinely interesting proposition, not just because they're a team that have had a documentary and they're owned by the celebrities they are, but because they are looking to play good football, and I can definitely see that idea of them moving up the league. Hopefully Mullin isn't out for too long. He did look like he'd tweaked his hammy, but he was still running, still walking, so obviously that means it isn't as bad as it could be. Hopefully he stays with them for the rest of the season. I think that was his 29th goal in all competitions, and it's only February. Like, those are Haaland numbers, if we're being honest. Those are similar numbers to Haaland, and obviously it's lower leagues, and he's playing in a league which is clearly of a lower standard than he's used to playing. That's why he's doing so well. But I think it's going to be interesting to watch as Wrexham develop and how much of an ambassador he's going to be, what sort of brand deals come along. What we don't want to happen, with this, because I actually think it's been quite an enjoyable thing to watch. What we don't want to happen is a scenario similar to Manchester City, where they've had the big money buy-in. Considering where they are, it is big money in comparison. They've brought in a player that is clearly on a higher wage and on and doing a lot in regards to kind of monetary value for the club. I'm hoping what's happened is that documentary has actually allowed them to bring in a bit of extra income, which may well have covered a lot of those costs, and it means they can now organically build a good footballing project. I think that's what we all want to see, rather than them go and spend like a ton of money on maybe next league, if they go up to the next league, maybe getting a couple of championship players on a full-time thing and then just almost skipping the queue a little bit. We don't want to see that. We want to see them invest in a way that develops the football club properly, invests in kind of youth systems, invest in training facilities, and then just invests in the right approach football-wise. That's what we all want to see, and I just wanted to say, from my opinion, from what I watched today, it looks like they are going in that direction. It's really exciting to see, and overall it was a very interesting game of football, so there we go. What I did like, again, one more thing I do want to say, the combination of strikers that we did see for Wrexham. I love that combination that you see of Mullin and Palmer. Like, they've got a really high goal ratio together of goals and assists that they've generated, and they just remind me of an old school strike partnership, which is obviously always going to be exciting. I'm an old school football fan. Like, I love 90s football so much. The idea of the striker and the support striker, whether that be Sheringham and Solskjaer, whether that be Shearer and Sutton, whether it be Heskey and Owen, for instance, that sort of idea that you have the support striker who kind of helps you get in the right positions and feeds you, and then the striker that actually gets gets most of the goals, but the support striker still bangs as well. And I think that's going to be a really interesting combination to watch. Definitely a key part of them kind of developing as a football club. Despite the fact it's an old school technique, it's clearly working in the league they're in, so it's cool to see that being utilised and them not trying to play. They're not trying to play football that they're not capable of, which is a cool way of doing it. They're doing it within their means, but they're still improving. And it was a genuinely enjoyable game, so I just wanted to say shout out to Wrexham. Really interesting watching. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this one. So yeah, if you did enjoy and you're enjoying the football content we are putting together, please do make sure you are getting involved by hitting that subscribe button on the right-hand side of the page. Of course, turning notifications on as well, leaving a like, leaving a comment, and all of that good stuff. We are going to continue to put up football content primarily in the evenings, and we're going to try and get as much kind of musical content up in the daytimes as we can as well. I have just gone into a new full-time job, so I'm trying to balance these videos around that, so do bear with me if we miss a video one day here and there. I'm literally doing something I've never done before, so do bear with me. But there we go. That's it from me. Hopefully you have enjoyed, and we shall see you all next time. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and peace.
Sounding so good right now. But they're sounding a Brighton town.
Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel right now, Cub Cam TV. Stay locked.